Okay, so this is Frank Montero, TLC, residential. Okay, so there's been a trustee appointed in charge of the company called Janina Hoskins, and they start talking here about conduct. So I want to address conduct first because they're talking about my conduct. So, and there's this email that Charles Marr. No relation to Bill Maher, maybe. Bill Maher's funnier. So, they're talking about my conduct, and Mr. Montero is continuing as if the debtor is his asset. Well, the company was stolen from him. Fundamentally, it's there was no reason for them to take the company. I don't want to get into that, but then they say here, not they, Janina, Ms. Hoskins, I have concluded nothing can be gained for creditors in continuing the debtor's business, and that it is in the best interest of the estate for the case to be converted to a Chapter 7. I agree completely. Likelihood of a sale is very low. I believe Mr. Montero will continue to create problems for the estate and for himself. I have notified the house managers that they should inform residents and the facilities that they should begin looking for alternative housing. The circumstance is unfortunate. However, it is necessary and the result of Mr. Montero's conduct. And declared under perjury. Okay, so Ms. Hoskins says it's my conduct. Now, there's low likelihood of sale. There's two potential buyers, both of which I brought in before there was ever a trustee. Okay, one of them is his name is Judd Ireland. He was partnering with a guy called David Naylor. David Naylor, and I can say his name freely, was a resident in one of our places. Myself as a previous Google partner, and he worked for Google at the time, and related, and we talked about a million things. And David Naylor now, funded by Mr. Ireland, has got operations in Austin. So this is my 4 or 5 year friend, acquaintance, Naylor, who is with Judd Ireland, and I bring them in so that in this unfortunate event, I founded the company. Every penny that's in there, every refrigerator that's there, I paid for. Out of 100 refrigerators, the flat penalty, every single thing, the last spoon and whatever, I paid for, and for the company, fair and square. But they think it's theirs now. So David Naylor. So I brought him in. I worked with him months and months and months and months. This is started in May, and now the trustee pops in September, and I am interfering. Because I talk to these guys and say, hey, listen, I'm not going to sign a non-compete, and I'm not going to do this if I'm not included as somewhere favorable in this thing, because I brought him in, and the reason I brought him in was so that I could continue to make a living. Okay? So that's the first one. The second one was, his name is Mark Frederickson, also a prior house parent with us that also owes an operation called Second Chance. He's a nice guy down in San Jose, and and I said, hey, Mark, do you think you might be interested in the company? Well, I got to do diligence. I said, hey, listen, this is a fire sale. It's not like you're going to go in there and looking for cash flows and all that. This situation has been, the company was running great 5 years ago. Everything was fine. The Department of Labor came in and destroyed everything. They meddled in everything. They pitted the employees one against the other. They pitted the volunteer house parents against me. They pitted the volunteer house parents against the other employees. And what they do is they go in and they cut communications one with the other, and that's how and they start giving orders. And they don't know anything about the business. But then, they really called, when I saw they didn't have a case, they called the guys up and said, hey, do you know that Frank Montero owes you $40,000 or $30,000? He goes, no, Frank doesn't owe me anything. They go, yeah, TLC. So yeah, we calculated here that in back pay. And so I've told the story many times and whatever. I don't want to go into that. So these are the guys that that were brought in by the Department of Labor to be on their side. Anyhow, that's how the whole thing started. So back then, I told Mark, I said, hey, in August to September, I told Mark, I said, you want to buy the company. I said, listen, give me an agreement that you'll keep me on for X number of years or whatever, and I'll facilitate everything, make it simple, whatever, I'll sign it on compete. Well, they went round and round and round. Now, at the end, then come the trustee. Everybody circumvents around me so they won't have to pay me anything, or they don't want to pay me anything. And Ms. Hoskins says that it is me that, as a result of my conduct, I don't know how that works, but this is my purchasers. I don't care what they claim to it. That was my purchasers that brought it in. And I think most people will agree with me. Now let's talk about conduct. Conduct is Mr. Charles Marr on Friday sent out an email that told people they had to move and that they were closing or whatever, liquidating, doing the whole works. And so people have known me for years. The owners of the homes, Frank, what's going on? What's going on? The residents are calling me. The parents of the residents, what's going on? What can we do? How can we help you? How can we complain to the Department of Labor? Well, they had passed out a letter saying that I wasn't to address. They love to gag me because what happens is when I speak the truth. So they don't like that because it's somehow you can three things you can't hide. You can't hide the moon, the sun, and the truth. So, but since I speak, they want their reality to be the truth. It's it's their own truth. Kind of like the politicians, I think. So, but the problem is that they think I'm going to break any rules, or you know what? Amongst the groups of people that got anything done in this world, those of us that will break a rule every now and then, those of you that don't break any rules, there's no Nelson Mandela's amongst them. There's no Martin Luther King's amongst them. There's no Malcolm X amongst them. There's no a lot of the people. There's the Rosa Parks. These are all African Americans that I point out. But these are people that have suffered injustice like I have. And I'm mentioning those. But they don't give a crap because there's no Steve Jobs amongst them. There's no, people that over and over provide a fearless state of mind to go forward. And there's no Richard Branson's amongst them. Guys, you got to take a risk. If you don't take a risk, whatever. So I'm taking it right now. I have an emergency situation, okay? And I have people calling me up. And you know what happens? When people with a low time, short time in recovery, you have overdoses, you have trauma, you have increased stress that creates all sorts of things where people self-medicate. There could create a criminal event that can have consequences for the rest of their lives. There's a lot of things that can happen. So I'm not going to let these people tell me that these people are hurting. They're calling me. The house parents are aware. The house managers are having to deal with. The residents are worried. The property owners are worried. I don't care. I'm talking to them because human life takes the first priority. You know what? I'm a pilot. I'm a licensed pilot. There is a point when I'm PIC, pilot in command, air traffic control may tell me one thing. And if I have an emergency, I can deviate completely from what they tell me. And that's what I did, because this needed to be done. Nobody's hurt, nobody, whatever. But I'm taking care. In fact, I wrote to some of the people and asked for their help in dealing with the emergency situation. I didn't even get the courtesy of a text back or an email back. So, Conduct. Let's talk about conduct. Let's talk about Judge Alsup, federal judge. Let's talk about his conduct. Okay, so he's such a nice guy in court. You know, and also he contradicts himself constantly. Where is the document?
This is the one presentation.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, here we have the code of conduct for the United States judges. You know, it's real simple. A judge should uphold the integrity and independence of the judiciary. Judge should avoid impropriety and appearance of impropriety in all activities. The judge should perform the duties of the office fairly, impartially, and diligently. Here is the conduct, the judge. Judge, the Honorable William Alsup. One point here, he says, he's talking to me. He says, I don't like intimidation because they're accusing me of intimidating. I'm 5'7", 160 something pounds. I'm intimidating, this guy. So he says, all right, Mr. Montero, you live in the fanciest apartment house in San Francisco. You drive a Tesla. You're at great risk of losing your Tesla. That will be the first item to go. The next item to go will be your interest in the tower. How does that sound like good conduct for a judge? You're supposed to be impartial. You see these marshals here. There's 5 U.S. marshals he brings in. No, he doesn't like intimidation, right? Judge Alsup doesn't like intimidation. However, for me, with little old me, he's got 5 marshals. I asked them to come here today so they could recognize you, because if you don't show up, they will come to the millennium and they will arrest you, put you in custody, and you will be in the county jail. I haven't done anything. Nothing has been found. I'm not guilty of anything. I'm not guilty of anything to start with. You will be living in the street. This is Judge William Alsup, 9th District, telling me. Conduct. We're talking about conduct. Mr. Montero's conduct. This is a judge's conduct. You'll be out living on the street on account of the way you conducted yourself in this case, because they're going to get the money and you're not going to keep it. Now, that's what's going to do, Mr. Montero, is you're going to lose everything you ever had in this business. This is an impartial, unbiased Judge William Alsup, isn't it? At this point here, this judge should have disqualified himself. He said I was a rich man. And here's the most egregious thing of all by William Alsup. He goes, government should make a motion for a receivership to put this entire enterprise under the receivership and take it away from Mr. Montero so that you could run it the way that you want it. Of course, the way that you want it. This was in, in May. Okay. Everybody always got paid on time until May. Now, as soon as the Department of Labor and those geniuses took over, I get calls all the time because they're late on the payments, they don't have any money. How come I had money? What happens is they didn't realize that what I did was I grew an operation that I worked with a thin margin. I made a profit, but thin margin, so I could help the most people. That's why people can live in any of our homes that are beautiful and do it at a reasonable price. And they can't make it. They can't make it like I can. And then they've had this ability to, I have to pay them for this in addition to give them free rent. Now, wait a minute now. Something happened here. In the interim, what happened was the Department of Labor realized they didn't have a case at all. So that they figured that the only way that they could actually win this is by doing a complete character assassination campaign against me. Because if you really look at this, okay, in the proceedings a year and a half earlier, okay, the Labor Department has no objection to, the court. Well, what do we do? Is there no lawyer? Oh, because the lawyer wanted to withdraw. And the reason being, this could be a problem of going on. But the reason being, one of the partners prepared what's a stock pledge agreement in a different matter with my ex-wife in a divorce, and she did an awful, it was just sophomore kindergarten job, and so they were kind of afraid that there was a situation that they could be liable for certain negligence or malpractice or whatever. Anyhow, so but this is what the court is telling this is the same judge, right? Is saying, I don't see how you can possibly. When they're talking. He says. I don't. I don't want to read this. I mean, this is all going to be available online. But basically, this is a landlord-tenant issue. And if you have a house and you say your tenant, this is what it is. It's, instead of charging you one amount, you charge the other, and that's that. The court says these are some pretty good points. Hey, it could be for 30 but for 30 or 40 years, this has been skating by and being illegal, as you say now. And suddenly the government decides that it's illegal? If it's so bad, how come somebody hasn't sued on it before? Miss Adams is one of the solicitors. She goes, well, these are different. There are level 1, 2, and 3, and 4 homes, whatever. This is a different situation. The judge says, and I think that, oh, no, wait a minute. This is the Adams. He says, I think that the sober living houses have evolved through the years, and that could be why it hasn't come to our attention. 40 years, right? I'm running the operation exactly the same way as it was run for 20-something years before me, because I bought it from the founder as a small company. Then the court says, and listen to me, I have visited some of these. Not the sober living places, but I have visited the new bridge over in Berkeley, which is residential drug treatment, and they follow that up with sober living environments. He goes, the judge says, I'm telling you, it's a very important part of the criminal justice system, is to have places where drug addicts can live. And I don't know. I think this is going to be very disruptive for these people who are in it. For a profit like TLC, but it's okay. It could have some public policy implications if you start putting these people out of business. What happened between this judge, at the time? And it's crazy. The judge was completely on our side, and it looked like there was an issue here. But I want to end this with two things. Number one of the people that guy that called, I don't know what it is, because people spread rumors so he says, I heard some rumors that you were using. That's a term that we use for using drugs. I said, yeah, I am using prescription, whatever I'm prescribed, and I've been through hell through this thing. I do take an SSRI, that's a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. It's got, like in the family of Celexa, Lexapro, Prozac, Paxil. I've been prescribed benzodiazepine, Xanax, Valium, whatever. It's an abusable, but I try not to abuse it. I've done everything in the world. Believe me, I qualify to be in this environment because I've done plenty. I spent 18 years of my life, no, 19, completely clean and sober without taking any prescribed medication that would be abusable or mood altering of any kind, or alcohol, or nothing. And you know what? I didn't feel all that, it was okay, but I was getting anxiety attacks, so I addressed that with whatever the doctor gave me, some benzodiazepine. So if anyone's got any issues with that, you know what? That's, in my operations, I have always allowed the resident and their physician to decide what's best for them. We can't sit around all these big book bangers and say, oh, no, you can do this or you can't do that. Wait a minute, I'm not a doctor. I'm not the person. Whatever works for them, as long as they're not impaired around other people or providing something that's going to let somebody down another slippery slope, that's it. So I just want to take care of that. Yes, you know, I've engaged in, and I have medically prescribed abusables. But let me tell you something about abusables. And I have taken opiates, but this thing is all natural, and it's the best thing I have found. I'm not being paid or anything by you. It's called Kratom. It's you can buy it on the internet. It's a product of Thailand, I believe. And I have psoriatic arthritis, which is related to my psoriasis. And some days the pain is just unbearable, you know. And the tendency would be to take the path of least resistance and, you know, ask the doc for some Norco or Vicodin or whatever. Like, no, I try to avoid any of that if possible. And I take Kratom, and it's amazing. The thing takes away the pain, doesn't impair you, doesn't, you know, not addictive. I mean, dependency of some type. I mean, we're dependent on whatever, coffee. But I mean, I don't know. I think it's fantastic. And that's it. And I'm going to end with one thing, which is my goal. And I'm going to follow up in a second. How many minutes we have in?
We have about 21 minutes.
Already used?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to stop this. We're going to talk about the corporation. I'm going to go to the next video and go there. Thank you very much. You're going to have some interesting, really interesting stuff. Because in California, have something called the For Benefit Corporation, which has to be transparent, has to have a dual mandate with value to stockholders. You bring value to stockholders, but you also have a social and community benefit, and that's what I believe in. And I just did not want to disclose what my plan was until now, so that other people wouldn't copy me. To be honest, thank you.